For thousands of years, humanity has chased one question. Where is the city built of gold? Across the jungles of the Americas, through endless swamps, and beyond the mountains. Generations passed, empires rose and fell, but one name never disappeared: El Dorado. Some said it was a city made of gold. Others believed it was a king covered in gold. And some claimed it never existed at all. Yet thousands of people went to their deaths in search of this name. Today we ask, did El Dorado really exist? Or is it a legend created by human greed? The legend of El Dorado did not begin with a city, it began with a man. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in South America in the 16th century, they discovered something astonishing. Gold was not just wealth, it was part of ritual, religion, and daily life. While conquering lands, they were also collecting stories, and the Muisca people told them about a sacred ceremony. When a new ruler was chosen, his body was first covered with clay and then dusted from head to toe with shimmering gold powder. At dawn, through the drifting morning mist, the golden ruler was placed on a decorated ceremonial raft and taken to the middle of Lake Guatavita. Silence fell. The high priest recited prayers. Then the ruler stepped into the water, and the gold washed from his skin into the lake. At the same moment, his companions threw tons of gold, emeralds, and sacred objects into the dark water as offerings to the gods. The ritual was so dazzling that the people gave him a name: El Hombre Dorado, the Gilded Man. In Spanish ears, that name soon became El Dorado. From that moment, the story began to change. At first, the word referred only to one person. Then, as stories spread, its meaning grew. The Gilded Man, the Golden Ruler, the Golden Kingdom, and finally, the City of Gold. Thus, a religious ceremony quickly transformed into one of the greatest treasure legends in history. When the conquistadors heard the story, they thought only one thing: if the ritual is like this, how much treasure must there be? And so El Dorado became not just a word, but a call that changed the fate of thousands of people. That is how the legend began. No golden walls, no marked city on a map, just one ruler, his body shining like the sun, and treasures sinking into a sacred lake. The rest was built by human imagination and greed. When we talk about El Dorado, we are not first talking about a city. We are talking about a man. This man became known in history as the Golden King, El Dorado. He was a ruler of the Muisca people in South America. But what made him special was not only his power, it was the ritual connected to him. When a new ruler was chosen, he was not taken to a throne room first. He was taken to a sacred lake. His body was covered with clay and then dusted from head to toe with shimmering gold powder. At sunrise, when the light touched his skin, he looked not like a man, but like a walking sun. The Golden King was placed on a decorated raft and taken to the middle of the lake. People around him prayed, and the priest called upon the gods. Then he slowly stepped into the water. The gold washed from his body into the lake, and at the same time his companions threw golden figures, emeralds, sacred objects into the depths as offerings. When Europeans heard this story, they misunderstood it as a golden city. And so the Gilded Man gradually became the City of Gold. But the true meaning of the Golden King is different. He was not only a symbol of wealth, he was a symbol of giving, of offering treasure rather than keeping it. To us today, he also asks the question, who is truly richer, the one who hoards gold, or the one who throws it into the water as an offering? So the Golden King was not just a legend, but a reflection of real rituals and real beliefs. Cities may disappear, treasures may be lost, but the legend remained, and the name El Dorado continues to live on. As the legend of El Dorado spread, it did not only change maps, it changed hearts. For the Spanish conquistadors, gold was not just metal. Gold was power. Gold was empire. Gold was a promise of immortality. They caught an illness that historians later called gold fever. This fever did not begin in a single day. Every rumor of treasure, every small discovery, poured more fuel onto the fire of greed. Thousands of men boarded ships from Europe and sailed toward lands they had never seen. But what awaited them? Unknown tropical diseases, jungles full of snakes and insects, horses sinking into swamps, hunger and thirst, and worst of all, betrayal by their own companions. For some, El Dorado meant treasure. For others, it was salvation, a way to escape debt, poverty, or obscurity. But at the end of the road, most did not find gold. They found death. Expeditions marched for months through endless jungle. Compasses failed. Maps turned into lies. And men discovered how small they were against nature. The jungle was not just trees. It felt alive, swallowing paths and isolating those who dared enter. From many expeditions, only a handful ever returned. Those who did come back had the same look in their eyes, exhaustion, horror, and yet a spark of hope still burning. Because the most dangerous part of gold fever is this: no matter how much a person finds, they always want more. Gold fever was stronger than gold itself. It stripped men of two things: fear and reason. El Dorado was no longer only on maps. It was inside their minds. Some went searching for treasure. Others lost themselves along the way. History leaves us with a final thought. Sometimes you think you are chasing the treasure, but in the end, the treasure is the one chasing you. As the legend of El Dorado spread, it didn't just change maps, it changed people. Thousands of men marched into the unknown, chasing one question: where is the city of gold? 3 expeditions became the most famous. 1, Gonzalo Pizarro, the army that disappeared in the jungle. Pizarro set out with thousands of men. They crossed the Andes, entered the Amazon rainforest, and discovered their greatest enemy was nature. Endless rain, starvation, snakes and insects, horses sinking into swamps. His army simply dissolved. Only a few broken survivors returned. El Dorado was not found, but thousands of lives were lost. To Francisco Orellana, to the very end of the Amazon. Orellana did not find El Dorado either, but he did something else. He became the first European to sail the entire Amazon River. His expedition was filled with hunger, fighting with local tribes, and devastating disease. Some wanted to turn back, some rebelled, but the dream of gold kept dragging them forward. He returned with no treasure, but with a place in history. 3, Sir Walter Raleigh, the man who risked everything. The English explorer Walter Raleigh believed El Dorado was near the Orinoco River. He led 2 major expeditions. He lost his son on one of them. He returned without proof, then was executed after coming back to England. For Raleigh, El Dorado wasn't just treasure, it was fame, politics, and destiny. For centuries, we have imagined El Dorado as a city of gold. Golden streets, golden temples, golden walls. But maybe the real problem is this: El Dorado was never a city. Historical sources show that the word El Dorado originally did not describe a place. It described a person, the ruler of the Muisca people. During the sacred ceremony, his entire body was covered in gold dust. At sunrise, he shone like the sun itself, so people called him El Hombre Dorado, the gilded man. Spanish explorers heard this story, but they misunderstood it. In their imagination, the gilded man slowly transformed into a golden king, then a golden kingdom, and finally, a golden city. One of the greatest legends in history may have begun with a simple mistranslation. Perhaps El Dorado was never a point on a map. It was the name of a ritual, the title of a ruler, and then it grew into a legend shaped by greed and imagination. Yet even if the city never existed, its idea moved the world. Armies marched, empires took risks, thousands died because of a misunderstood word. So we must ask, was El Dorado a real city, or just a legend born from a translation error? El Dorado has been calling to us for centuries. For some, it is a city of gold. For others, a king washed in gold dust upon a sacred lake. And for many, it is simply a misunderstood word that grew into a legend. But one truth remains: whether El Dorado is ever found or not, it has already changed history. Armies disappeared, empires took risks, and thousands devoted their lives to this myth. Perhaps El Dorado was never on a map. Perhaps it was always inside us, or in our greed, in our dreams, and in our endless hope for something more. Sometimes we search for treasure, and in the end discover that the real treasure is understanding ourselves. So now the question is yours. Was El Dorado a real place, or just a mirror made of human imagination? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's explore the next legend together.